Here's how the Times covered the story in 2018. The headline: "All I did was be black. Police are called on college student eating lunch." This is from Hot Air. "There is literally not a word of doubt in the piece that this is anything other than a clear example of someone being unfairly targeted because of their race." Apparently, apparently 4 people were being unfairly targeted because of their race. And this is what one of the people who works in the maintenance staff at Smith College said. "We were gobsmacked. 4 people's lives wrecked. 2 were employees of more than 35 years and no apology," said Tracy Putnam Culver, a Smith graduate who recently retired from the college facilities management department. How can you rationalize that? How can you rationalize that? By the way, tuition at Smith is somewhere between $70,000 and $80,000 a year. And these people were making short money. They were staff. They weren't faculty. They were staffers at the school. And they were forced out for no reason. They were falsely accused. 844-500-4242. 508 says, "I coached Little League. I needed Corey before getting anywhere near the kids." Like the mailroom manager. That's the way it is. Did the New York Times report this in the original story? Did the Washington Post? Did CNN? Did they make any effort to find out what the laws are in Massachusetts and why the laws were changed in Massachusetts? There's a very good reason why they want to have Corey checks on everybody who's near little kids. But that's tomorrow's story. At least give the Times credit. They finally caught up with it 2 years after the employees had all been forced to resign. 844-500-4242. We'll take some calls on this if you want. This is a pretty amazing story, and I wanted to give it a little time here today because it's just so outrageous, and there's so many. I mean, this is just a variation on a fake hate crime, you know. I mean, how could she accuse people? She identified 2 of these white people as the people who had done this to her, and they had nothing to do with it. One of them was not even on the campus when it happened, and she identified him. They all ought to be suing. 844-500-4242. Steve, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Howie, how you doing?
Good.
I just turned on the radio, and you are making the exact point of what the problem is with throwing around words like racism and discrimination. They are not crimes unless they're tied to specific illegal criminal activity.
Yeah. No.
And every situation is different.
I know. I know. This is, how about having due process, Steve? Would that be asking too much to have these people have a chance to offer their own alibis, their own extenuating circumstances, like the fact that they weren't on campus when this happened? Is that too? Back in the 60s, the FBI wanted to frame these guys for a murder they didn't commit to protect one of their new informants. And one of the guys they framed was named Louis Greco. For a murder he didn't commit. Not only did he not commit the murder, he wasn't even in Massachusetts at the time the murder took place. He was in Florida vacationing. And he was still convicted anyway. I know this is not quite the same case. Louis Greco spent 35 years in prison, died in prison for a murder he wasn't even in the state when it was committed. But how is this any different? They just basically convicted these people before they even had a chance to defend themselves. Jake, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Jake.
Hey, Howie. I have a question for you. So how do we define privilege? White or black or whatever privilege is. Because Smith College, I couldn't go there or afford it, or my family. But this woman could afford it. It's $80,000 a year.
Yeah. And she went to a prep school before that in Connecticut.
Wow. That's privileged, isn't it? Does it matter about the privilege? Know your skin color? I didn't know. I didn't know if it has, because Mr. Obama wants the same thing, but reparations. If I'm .02 Congolese, which by DNA test says it is, am I, who look like you, also privileged? And do I get to get a check for reparations?
What if you're a member of a white ethnic group that's been oppressed? I would consider the Irish to be oppressed for many years by the English, just like the English oppressed a lot of different ethnic groups, including the Irish. I'm half English, but I'm half Irish. You know, does one half of me pay reparations to the other half of me? How about Sicilians? They've been invaded and occupied for over 1,000 years. I mean, are they an oppressed group? I mean, who's to decide who's oppressed and who's not oppressed? I mean, if you go to prep school in Connecticut and then you go to Smith College, how oppressed can you really be? I agree with your analysis there, Jake. Mr. X, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Mr. X.
Howie, how are you?
Good.
Hey, I've been listening to you for 25 years out here in Western Mass, and really appreciate everything you do. And I happen to know one of the folks who was working for Smith College, who you mentioned previously, whose husband is a mechanic. They're both personal friends of mine, and I got to tell you something. These people are salt of the earth people. They would give you, if they didn't have a shirt to give you off their back, they'd give you their backs. They're those kind of people.
Yeah.
They're super nice, great folks. And I can't tell you the kind of crap this has caused. And it's for nothing. This is ridiculous.
Are they going to sue? Are any of these? Everybody's asking the question on the text line. Are any of these people suing Mr. X?
To the best of my knowledge, yes. And that's
Good.
been in progress for a while. As I've said to them on many occasions, go for the jugular, guys.
Exactly, like the bakery did at Oberlin College. Remember that? The blacks said that they were being singled out, and it turned out they were shoplifting, and the owners of the bakery were trying to stop them, and eventually the black students pleaded guilty in court to shoplifting, just as they were accused of, but they still tried to shut down the bakery, and the bakery sued for tens of millions of dollars. I would love to be on that jury, Mr. X, wouldn't you?
Oh, you're not. Yeah, I'm not a jury kind of guy, but I'd like to be on that one. Let me tell you.
Exactly. Thank you. 844-500-4242. 617 said they got Willie Benedict. That you got to be an old timer and be from Boston to know what that means. That's the case of the guy who was framed for, or they almost framed him for shooting Carol DeMatteo Stewart. She was actually shot by her husband, and he said it was a black guy who did it. In this case, it was a black woman accused white people of doing something they didn't do. We're going to take some more calls when we come back. Great news. The Gen 40 heater is back, and just in time for the really cold temperatures. I know it's been warm for the last few days, but it's going to get cold again. You need a good heater. Oil prices are going up already. If you've been to a gas station recently, you know what I'm talking about. The Keystone XL pipeline has been stopped. Now the Moonbats want to shut down the Dakota pipeline. All this oil is going to be going somewhere else, probably to China. Now there's a moratorium on fracking on federal lands. That means natural gas prices are going through the roof. You need to start planning, and that means you need the Gen 40 heater. Robert from the Cape says the Gen 40 performs like no other heater I've ever used. It is remarkable. It's a nice warm heat, too. It never really gets out of control. I have one on my desk here in Florida just because I get cold a lot easier since I lost all the weight. It's just really a pleasant heater. It's very lightweight. It moves around. I got it in the studio right now, and then I take it back to my office here in Florida. The Eden Pure Gen 40 makes you feel warmer than your furnace, and it also costs less to run. You may be working from home now, and you'll need to be paying close attention to the heating bills. The Eden Pure Gen 40 will pay for itself in a matter of weeks. Go to EdenPure.com and put in code word HowieDeal to get $50 off the sale price. That's EdenPure.com and use code word HowieDeal for an extra $50 off. These heaters are in high demand, so go right now to EdenPure.com. I'm Howie Carr.
Keep it here, chumps. More Howie Carr after this.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by Defensive Strategies in Manchester, New Hampshire. Defensive Strategies is the premier firearms training company in southern New Hampshire with more than 100 classes from beginner to instructor level. Come to where the trainers train. Visit defensivestrategies.org.
And now a namaste moment with Chris Cuomo.
Hope with me that today Dr. King's example inspires the many striving for better and enlightens the toxic few determined to be their worst.
You're gonna have a problem. What are you gonna do about it? I'll ruin your I'll throw you down these stairs like a punk.
We could not have a better reminder that you can't kill an idea with violence.
And I don't want some jackass, loser, fat tire biker to be able to pull over and get in my face and in my space.
And that violence can be used as a refuge for those coming from a place of animus and ignorance.
What's the best way to handle it? You just ignore it.
Make it choke?
Just ignore
Punch
it.
to the sternum? As Dr. King taught us, darkness can only be removed by the light of truth. And love is the ultimate form of truth.
Now's the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. I love my Raycons, and Grace loves hers, too.
Howie, I love my Raycons. Best birthday gift ever.
I listen to much better music than she does, though.
Hey, that's not true.
Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Go to buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie. buyraycon.com/Howie.
Joe Biden's plagiarizing prowess proves one thing: he's been stealing all his life.
Why is it that Joe Biden is the first in his family ever to go to a university?
Why am I the first connect in 1,000 generations to be able to get the university?
Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Why is Glenys the first woman in her family in 1,000 generations to be able to get the university?
No, it's not because they weren't as smart.
Does anybody really think that they didn't get what we had because they didn't have the talent?
It's not because they didn't work as hard.
Or the strength, or the endurance, or the commitment. Of course not.
It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
It was because there was no platform upon which they could stand.
I should have said, to paraphrase Neil Kinnock, it's the only time I didn't, and all the times I've ever used it.
Come on, man.
All right, T-Dope, I want to do my share of the work.
Howie Carr is back.
Iceland was rocked by volcanoes yesterday, and there's a headline. I was just looking now online. Icelandic volcano about to cut loose? ? Donald Trump's fault. Whose fault could it be other than Donald Trump, even though he's not president anymore? Sharon, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Sharon.
Good evening, everyone, and I hope you have a pleasant, healthy week, Howie. Thank you for your time. I have a legal question, and you will probably be, a little bit privy to this. I'm hearing a lot of crazy news this week. Unbelievable. I mean, Coca-Cola, listing like a whole bunch of items that their new personnel have to adhere to, et cetera. Yes. And now a new reparations bill going through Congress. I don't know who started that. Maybe, not Nancy Pelosi. Pardon me for being a little brass. But I'm pretty smart, but I'm looking for you for a little advice. We're sitting back, the whites. I don't have a problem. I teach at a small college, and I think I'm a conservative. I work with people from all over the world.
What's your
love them.
point, Sharon? Go ahead. What's your point?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, but it all blends in. What can we do as whites? That's insinuating that they assume that I already am.
We just have to. I mean, it's not whites or black. Everybody, has to be treated individually as human beings and not as members of racial affinity groups, I guess you'd call them. We've got to get beyond this. I mean, again, we come back to Dr. Martin Luther King saying he dreamed of a day when his children would be judged on the character of their characters rather than the color of their skin. And this is just so absurd. I mean, there was no effort made to see who was telling the truth in this case, obviously. And so the people, the lower middle class staffers, not faculty, staffers, big difference, at these educational institutes. I know because my parents were staffers at Deerfield Academy. And they just get thrown under the bus because someone makes these outrageous allegations. How much of a terrible life has this woman had? Prep school in Connecticut and then Smith College. And are her parents the descendants of slaves, or did they just immigrate here very, very recently? That's my question. I think I know the answer, but I don't know it for sure. Bill, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Bill.
No time.
Oh, no time. 774. You are so right. Fake news goes nuts over these stories until they learn they're hoaxes. Then they're usually crickets. That's why I congratulate the New York Times for doing something with this anyway. 844-500-4242. We'll be right back. I'm Howie Carr.
Like most companies, we here at Matthews Brothers are pretty proud of our website. Not so proud that we go around asking total strangers to visit it or anything like that, but proud enough to ask you to. Now, you might think that's the dumbest thing I've heard all day. Why the heck would I want to visit MatthewsBrothers.com? Where's the fun in that? And we'd be like, you don't have to make it personal, dude. There's lots of fun stuff to do there. And you'd be like what? And we'd be like the visualizer. And you'd be like, what the heck's a visualizer? And then we'd tell you. The visualizer is this nifty little application that allows you to completely remodel the exterior of your house. Play with different colors and styles to design the virtual home of your dreams. You'll have hours of fun this winter creating such visual masterpieces as a spruce green window with barn red sash and gray 4.5-inch banded casing and historic sill nosing. Then, once the thrill of that is worn off, you can play with the roofing and siding. You can learn more about our wicked awesome Maine-made windows and doors, but only at Better Lumber Yards and Window Professionals or on the web at MatthewsBrothers.com. Matthews Brothers with one T, America's oldest window manufacturer.
What deal can we have, Crazy Nancy?
The Constitution does not say that a person can shout wolf in a crowded theater.
But to be clear, you're not taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out.
Good morning. Sunday morning. Chocolate, candy, chocolate, and then we have some other chocolate here. Consistently practice social distancing.
Why does AOC complain that you have not been grooming younger people for leadership?
I don't know. You'll have to ask her.
That was kind of sharp.
I'm not a big needle taker. I mean, I had a hard time getting my ears pierced. I'm not a big needle taker. I mean,
Mother Earth is angry. She's telling us.
What do you think is causing this erratic behavior?
I think that the president has always had erratic behavior. I have ice cream in my freezer. I guess that's better than having Lysol in somebody's lungs.
Civilization as we know it is at stake.
I don't drink, but I'm happy to have ice cream with anybody, anytime.
What impact do you think Russian interference had in the election?
I think it was one of the major contributors to the outcome.
Years from the 2016 election, and Hillary Clinton still can't accept the results. Take a listen.
You know, you can run the best campaign. You can be the person who gets the nomination. You could lose. I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows.
The one thing that Trump is fearful of when it comes to his being president is that finally we will see how illegitimate his victory actually was.
This wasn't on the level. Flashing videos that appear and then disappear, and they're on the dark web and nobody can find them. It's like applying for a job and getting 66 million letters of recommendation and losing to a corrupt human tornado. So maybe there does need to be a rematch. I mean, obviously, I can beat him again. So of course he's obsessed with me.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
Hair loss is not one of life's more enjoyable experiences. If you're looking to fill in your hairline or reverse years of hair loss, DiStefano Hair Restoration will create a result that will be a transformative experience. The result of my IGT procedure was quite remarkable. I now have fuller, thicker hair so I can even wear it a bit longer. There are a few major decisions I've made in my life that I wish I did sooner. My hair restoration is number one. It was by far one of the best moves I've ever made. My hair looks awesome, and the confidence from having a full head of hair again has left me feeling great. I used to look in the mirror and dreaded seeing my ever-increasing bald spot. Now when I look in the mirror, I see the new me with a full head of thick hair. For information on how to make the same choice I did, go to hairman.com/Howie. What are you waiting for? More hair to fall out? Get the hair you've always wanted. Hairman.com/Howie.
Normally, we give Fredo Cuomo a lot of attention, but lately it's Governor Andrew Cuomo who's been grabbing headlines. Let's take a listen to some of his best moments.
You're an essential worker, so go take a job as an essential worker.
But the people aren't hiring because of...
No, there are people hiring. You can get a job as an essential worker. So now you can go to work and you can be an essential worker and you're not going to kill anyone. The number is down because we brought the number down. God did not do that. Fate did not do that. Destiny did not do that. We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great. Because I can also see you're in masterful shape, buff even. It has a very nice floral bouquet. A little I detected lilac, hydrangea, tulips. What does it smell like to you? Tulips, yes. Floral bouquet. Because if that's who they are, and if they are the extreme conservatives, they have no place in the state of New York. 200 moms, dads, sons, daughters, grandparents who are no longer with us.
I think it's up to 30,000 people have died.
Over 600,000 dead, 600 plus thousand people.
60,000.
660. We're in the middle of a pandemic that had cost us more than 85,000 jobs, lives of millions of people.
Now we have over 120 million dead from COVID.
200 million people have died. 205 million people, 1,000 people.
210,000 people have died.
4 million existing billion. 500,000. 50,000.
A class of 25, you end up having two classes of 12, for example.
But you know, in the 2020 census, which is now 2 censuses ago, the Oval back in May 2019, a $15 million, $15,000, $15 minimum wage. I got to the Senate 180 years ago.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
And now, another minute of Madam Speaker, Nancy Pelosi.
But again, don't you have these wings, AOC and her group on one side.
It's like 5 people. They would say, play games, and then they'd say, open sesame. Except we don't say sesame, we say open Biden. But no, I because we are not. We have the number is growing. We have 91 women. There are 115 women in Congress, 116. 15 are Republican, 91 are Democrats. I happen to be a manifestation of the women power that is coming forth now, but only one manifestation. It was like getting kicked in the back by a mule constantly. It was physical. It was so unbelievable. The Times found Lincoln
not to be presumptuous to put ourselves in those categories, but the times have found us.
You've been hearing me talk about Super Beets for a while now, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, why Super Beets? You could take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I take them twice a day, once in the morning when I get up, even before I have my first cup of coffee, and the other time in the afternoon, right before the show. It gives me a burst of energy. It's great for my blood pressure. It's good for circulation. It just makes you feel better. If that doesn't convince you, we can talk about the science behind Super Beets. Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body, and even supports healthy blood pressure. But Super Beets does so much more than eating regular beets and is unparalleled compared to other beet powders. Just one scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. Go to superbeetsradio.com/Howie and try out Super Beets yourself. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie.
We are now effective today, requiring all counties to close their indoor activities, their indoor operations in the following sectors: restaurants, wineries, tasting rooms. A few weeks ago, I was asked to go to a friend's 50th birthday. I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up.
Stay at home as much as possible. Put those social gatherings on hold, including extra care for Thanksgiving.
Denver's mayor told you to stay home for Thanksgiving, then he got on a flight to go see family out of state.
Some people calling Supervisor Kuehl a hypocrite. Now, on November 24th, she voted to ban.
Better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
We heard horror stories of doctors and nurses wearing trash bags over their gown, over their dress.
What are you wearing? That's my character. I'm the trash man.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
Don Johnson. Was his first name John? What is it, Ron?
I loved you in Tin Cup.
Yes, Tin Cup.
Top 5 Don Johnson movies.
Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
None of these drugs have been approved for this. They're all being used off-label. I find it ironic that the left that went nuts over hydroxychloroquine being used possibly for COVID are not alarmed that these hormones are being used off-label.
That would be hypocrisy.
What did they get right? The Operation Warp Speed. The fact that we, in December, had not one but 2 vaccines is just breathtaking.
Rump swabs, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
844-500-4242. That is the toll-free number of the Howie Carr Show. 844-500-4242. And the situation with housing is just and real estate has just really gotten crazy lately with the basically the collapse of the entire retail market, and everybody shopping online. And then you have people trying to get the hell out of the cities because they don't need to go into the cities anymore. And the office space is way down. It's being converted into apartments, and you have the suburban real estate is through the roof because, well, for any number of reasons. And so we just wanted to check in on the real estate market tonight with Justin Manning from JJ Manning, and they're one of our advertisers, but he does auctions, and they did an amazing auction today, and I think it kind of sums up where the real estate market is right now. And it's in Needham, a town I know a lot about. That's where our offices are when we're all the time we're in Boston. It's next door to Wellesley, where I've lived for many years. And so Justin Manning is just joining us on the line, and we'll talk about what happened in Needham today and just talk about the real estate market in general. Justin, thanks for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show.
Thank you, Howie. Yeah, it was a spectacular day today, kind of a culmination of everything that's happening right now in the world. And what I mean by that is people have decided where they want to be, and they're hunkering down. People have figured out what they're going to do, where they want to spend their money. It's just a really strange time. But what ended up happening today is a big fan of your show had gotten in touch with us about selling a home in Needham, a home built in the 1950s. and their plan is to relocate to Florida for many reasons. And so they got in touch with JJ Manning to auction their home for them. Obviously it's not a foreclosure. They've chosen this process. So what we did is we
and I hear the word
marketed this over
50s. I hear the word 50s, Justin, and I'm thinking in Needham, tear down. Is that right?
I would say we had 26 bidders vying for this property today, and I would say 25 of them, and hopefully 26, but probably 25 of them plan to raise the structure completely. Okay, so a true a neighborhood. I mean, the thing is, I went to Babs, and I understand that area, the Wellesley, the Needham.
Right.
It's a great commutable area, and so what happens?
And they got decent schools too. That's the other thing, and people are even buying into the condos in Needham around where our office is just to get their kids into the school systems. And you're right. It's a different time now, isn't it? From even a couple of years ago.
It really is. I mean, an average auction for us for a residential home in my career for the last 28 years, you have 6 to 10 people that show up with their bank check to compete. In a market like now where it's hot in certain pockets, we had 26 bidders. It's just unheard of. 12 of them represented by real estate brokers, and a property that's assessed for $758,000 by the town of Needham once I dropped the gavel at the end, sold for $1,090,000 because those 26 bidders determined that that's what the market price is for that asset. And that's the true power of what we do, because if brokers get multiple offers, they're trying to figure out how to do this and come in with your highest and best or whatever they decide to do. We know how to flesh out all the money. And, it's through an auction. And in a hot time, auctions are even better than in a downtime because there's bidders and there's money. And they certainly spoke and they want to be in Needham.
And when you go to an auction, you got to bring a certified bank check with you, right? To prove you're a legitimate person.
People always say, how do you qualify your bidders for your auctions? And I say, with cash. And that means, you had 26 people that showed up with a bank check for $50,000 today to be able to vie for this property. So it's serious. It's somebody that is cash ready, that is ready to move quickly and be able to close on this in 45 days time.
And so there were so many people there today, as opposed to what was a traditional auction in a suburban residential area, that you had to hire a police detail, right, to keep the cars and everybody in line.
Right. We didn't want to disturb any neighbors. We wanted to follow the orders of the governor, which was 50 people for an outdoor venue event. So we had a great Brian from the Needham Police was there. He's fantastic. He kept everything in control and did it properly distanced so that we could run this event. And it was just there's been other times where I've seen it, but I'm talking decades ago. We're talking about FDIC back in the 90s and times where it was just a different time. This is it's just unprecedented. So we're trying to figure out, where things are fitting in. And obviously suburban areas, they're commutable to the city, but are also desirable, and the schools are desirable. Like I've said so many times, I've never seen the Cape as hot as it is. I've never seen some of the suburbs as hot as it is.
Now, you told me one other thing when we were talking before the show, that there is an artificial shortage of inventory right now that has been created by these moratoria on foreclosures at both the state and the federal level. So normally you would have a certain number of foreclosures just as a natural process of the real estate market, but that supply is shut off because of the moratorium, correct?
Exactly. So all of the savvy investors that have money, all that money on the sidelines, all these investors that are ready to look for a deal that makes sense for them, the inventory is extremely low, meaning there are no foreclosure auctions for them to go to. So when Manning does what we do, which is we do a lot of private auctions for individuals that have decided, hey, sell it now at auction, we're getting droves of bidders, like more than we ever have, because they don't have another option. They can't go over to this other auction over in Natick that's at 10:30 when ours is at 11 o'clock in Needham. it's almost like right now, because of the restrictions and the moratoriums on all the residential foreclosures, I think through, at this point, Howie, I think the CDC has extended it through March 31st. Although let's not be surprised when that gets extended again.
Right.
So that is the supply and demand, the mere economies of it have created a scenario where we're really generating what I would deem to be like market value for a property.
What if I owned a
even though
strip?
it's an auction,
Let's talk about
people
the other end of it though. Retail. Suppose I owned a retail strip mall, say on a small one on Route 9 in Natick nearby. Well, what's the price for that?
Okay, I'm so glad you brought that up, and I will tell you, yesterday, the Mass Superior Court made a ruling. It's a big, long LLC was the landlord. Cafe Nero was the defendant, and they made a ruling that on these commercial tenants with these commercial leases, this is going to blow your mind. They excuse them from paying rent under the clause in most commercial leases called frustration of purpose, which is different than force majeure. Force majeure is a force of nature, the force of God that caused something that didn't allow them to pay rent. This frustration of purpose is a clause that states if you're not able to do your business in that space, your ability to do your business is frustrated. So their ability to do business because the state has mandated you're only open 20% or 40%.
How about the landlord's frustration at not being able to collect rent from Cafe Nero because they're shut down? Who does the landlord go to? I speak as a former landlord.
The landlord should call us because it's probably time to get the blood pressure down and move to Florida and sell it to somebody else that's willing to deal with new tenants going forward. But honestly, it is super unfair to all. It's the tenants are not able to do their business, Howie. The landlord's not able to get. I
have one last question for you. As someone who reads the Palm Beach Daily News every day, and it used to be a society newspaper, now it's a real estate newspaper. Is this a bubble in these residential real estate markets across on the East Coast anyway? Is it a bubble?
I look at it like this: the people that are overpaying for a lot of these properties, they have the money and the wealth, and they'll be able to be okay. The bubble is on the lower end. To be honest with you, it's on the people that got mortgages and they got the mortgage based upon a certain income, which they're not going to realize. Some of them, whatever segment they're in, they're not going to be able to realize the proper income to be able to sustain that purchase. So I think that, unfortunately, the wealthy, they'll be okay. They wouldn't make this purchase. Most of those purchases, Howie, are cash purchases.
Yeah, they are.
Be more concerned with the ones where they took a mortgage. I mean, the guy paying, let's put it this way, in the auction business, if a property sells for more than $1 million, it's a cash buyer. If a property sells in the hundreds of thousands, that person's probably they're pre-qualified and they've got a mortgage. So I think the bubble, it's a big bubble, but I think it's going to affect the little guy more than the big guy that's doing those multi-million dollar
508
luxury homes.
508 says in Falmouth, a house listed for $659 and it sold for $749. The agent said it was a bidding war. This is great stuff. We're out of time, Justin Manning. If people want to go to you, where can they reach you to get their property auctioned?
You got it. Contact my man Charlie Gill at the office at 800-521-0111 or visit the website at www.jjmanning.com.
Okay, thanks, Justin. This is very interesting developments here in the real estate market. Some good news and some bad news. Thanks for being with us. That's Justin Manning from jjmanning.com. The Biden administration's policies and executive orders are already causing some economic disturbance. Tax laws are going to change. Your tax burden on selling real estate will only grow. Don't get caught flat-footed and squander the equity in your real estate built up over years or decades. Sell today with the guy we were just talking to, Justin Manning. His company is J.J. Manning. For over 40 years, J.J. Manning has been the leading auction house in New England, from high-end homes to estates to commercial properties throughout New England. They just sold a big place in New Bedford. Taylor was telling me about it today. I'll get into that a little later. JJ Manning can get your property sold fast and contingency free. There is a big reason why Mass Lawyers Weekly voted JJ Manning #1 for 4 consecutive years. They have a huge following of bidders who pay cash. When you sell with a broker, you pay the commission, but in an auction, the buyer pays. These are treacherous times in the real estate market, as you just saw. Some sectors are at all-time highs, others are losing ground. Don't wait until Joe Biden destroys this sector of the economy too, before you can cash out. To learn more on how to get your property sold fast, contact Charlie Gill at jjmanning.com. With over 16,000 sales and satisfied clients, you could be the next one. Call them today at 1-800-521-0111 or go to jjmanning.com and get your property sold. I'm Howie Carr.
Born in Maine, made in Massachusetts, and now a resident of the Sunshine State, Howie Carr, the original carpetbagger.
6 Hours hiring CNC machine operators, maintenance techs, quality inspectors, and more. Come to their drive-through job fair on February 27th, 9 a.m. to noon in Exeter, New Hampshire for on-the-spot interviews right from your vehicle. Learn more at 6hourcareers.com.
He's the co-sponsor of the Green New Deal, so what better time to play some of his greatest hits? Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. Frosty.
This is going to be a mission to save all of creation. If you want to ignore that these changes are taking place and that they're having a dramatic impact, then you are in the right place.
Do you know what the winters were like at Plymouth Rock? Do you know what the winters were like at Plymouth Rock, Senator?
Well, here is the thing.
You don't. How long has your family been in Massachusetts?
We are new arrivals. And, Mr. President, American history was made last night. The Boston Patriots won the Super Bowl. When the Second Amendment was written in order to maintain a well-regulated militia, they did not have in mind that people could purchase guns indiscriminately. The president is acting like Pontius Pilate.
Everyone knows I love coffee and I'm not giving it up. I know that it would keep me up from time to time, but no longer with Balance 7. Balance 7 is a clear mineral liquid that you take 3 times a day to break down the acid in your body. When it does this, you'll feel better, and I sleep better. Often I'm asked to try products and I can be very skeptical on their claims. But with Balance 7, it was all 100% true. With Balance 7, I didn't feel my energy starting to flag as the day wore on. Because by sleeping better at night, it also gave me mental clarity during the day. Balance 7 is a highly alkalizing concentrate. That means it reduces the acids that have built up in your body. Balance 7 is also known for reducing acid reflux and heartburn as it did for the mailroom manager. Balance 7 is made of safe, all-natural ingredients. If you suffer from heartburn, acid reflux, or sleep issues, you should give Balance 7 a try. Order the 8-ounce 12-pack supply at balance7.com. Put in code word Howie. You will save $10 and you'll also get free shipping. Balance7.com. And now, a minute of wisdom from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Millennials and people and Gen Z and all these folks that come after us are looking up, and we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. And your biggest issue is how are we going to pay for it? And this is the war. This is our World War II.
I think that there's a lot of people more concerned about being precisely, factually, and semantically correct than about being morally right.
But being factually correct is important.
It's absolutely important.
And if we work our butts off to make sure that we take back all 3 chambers of Congress, all 3 chambers of government, the presidency, the Senate, and the House in 2020, we can't start working in 2020.
But the worse it gets. So he's trying to change the subject. And today, after the latest fiasco in the morning, he decided to open up many of the businesses that have been closed. And it will include concert halls, theaters, other indoor performances will be allowed to reopen at 50% of capacity. Indoor recreational activities, laser tag, roller skating, trampolines open 50%. Restaurants will no longer have a % capacity limit and will be permitted to host musical performances. 6-foot social distancing, limits of 6 people per table, and 90-minute limits remain in place. And Fenway and Gillette Stadium will be open. Fenway's open at 12% capacity. I don't know how much good that does the Red Sox, considering I would assume they have to have the same security staff on duty with only 12%. But anyway, we want to talk to Eric Hines from Precinct 10, another great restaurants on the South Shore. Eric, is this just again another attempt by Governor Baker to change the subject here in the midst of the vaccination rollout disaster? Or does this mean anything to you guys?
Thanks for having me, Howie. As the old adage goes, I mean, timing is everything. And if you look at not only today, but the first time that the governor rolled back restrictions, which fell on Biden's first day in office, which seemed like pretty curious timing to me as well. The whole thing, it's just interesting. My thing, the way I kind of look at the whole thing is, I go back to that whole 5 stages of grief thing that everybody knows about, where it's denial and anger, and it ends up in acceptance.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I think we are as, kind of a society right now, where we've all been kind of lulled into this false sense of complacency, where we've all kind of just accepted the restrictions and normalized them. Like masks are normal, and half full restaurants are normal. And anytime we get any kind of relenting on restrictions, the reaction you see on social media and everywhere else is, this is great news. Like, wow, this is amazing. It's really not. I mean, we've been lulled into thinking that we should take it as a gift, but it should be the opposite. They're framing it as great news and a victory, but it should be framed as it's about time. There was no need for it to go on this long.
Eric, do you think if the rollout had the revised rollout had gone off smoothly today rather than disastrously again, that they would have given you this sop?
There's 2 ways to look at it. One is, the obvious answer that I think, you're thinking is no, they wouldn't have relented on the restrictions today. But there's the other side of the coin that says, Biden's in office now. And, the powers that be that, kind of didn't support Trump want Biden
Baker
to get the credit for, Biden want to give Biden the credit for reopening society and saving the economy and saving lives. And, I almost felt it, as evidenced by, the first relenting of restrictions in this state, which fell on Biden's first day in office. I mean, it wasn't the day before, it wasn't the day after, it was the day that he took office. And that says to me that, Biden's in, virus is going away.
But once again, the Charlie Parker screws you guys and doesn't give you the extra capacity for the weekend. He waits till Monday again. What is this? The 3rd, 4th, 5th time he's done this?
Yeah. Again, the timing is interesting. I mean, there's, something to be said for, at the beginning of all this, we were getting all kinds of restrictions placed on us, with a day's notice.
Yeah.
And, now we're getting a week's notice or whatever. And we're missing the weekend. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the rhyme or reason is to any of it anymore. I think a lot of people, if you look at social media and other places, are saying that, this is great news. And, it's being framed as something extremely positive, which it is. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I want more people in the restaurants. But at the same time, this should have happened so long ago. If you look back in, November, if you look at the state's weekly COVID reports from their own websites, back in November, they started tracking, the contact tracing of where the virus clusters were originating from. And in early November, it was 0.5% coming from restaurants.
Right.
And today, or, the most recent report, it's still less than 0.5%. So I don't know why it took 3-4 months to say, restaurants aren't to blame.
Yeah. It's too late for the Eastern Standard, though, isn't it? I hope Precinct 10 can survive and all your other restaurants. Eric Hines, thanks for being with us. We're going to open up the lines and talk about the vaccine rollout if you want to talk about that, or about the restaurants sort of being allowed to reopen more. I'm Howie Carr.
Congratulations, New England. You did it. You made it through 2 months of torturous, nonstop, ear-jarring, teeth-clenching, blood pressure-raising radio noise. Those nerve-grating Matthews carols are now just a distant memory, echoing through the canyons of your mind with no sugary aftertaste. But it's a whole new year, and we've come up with whole new ways to annoy you. For example, remember those Matthews carols you thought were just a distant memory echoing through the canyons of your mind? Well, guess what? They're now and forevermore sitting fat, dumb, and happy on the video portion of our wicked awesome website, MatthewsBrothers.com. But they're not the only videos we have out there. We also have videos on such useful topics as understanding condensation, how to properly install one of our windows, and even a video on how to get the sash back into the frame once you've accidentally removed it and there's a storm coming and the factory is closed and your wife is yelling at you to fix it now. We even got one of those. You can learn more about our wicked awesome windows and doors, but only at Better Lumber Yards and Window Professionals or on the web at MatthewsBrothers.com. Matthews Brothers with one T. America's oldest window manufacturer.
The Democrat Party is so full of loonies, social justice warriors, progressives, whatever you want to call them, that sometimes certain moonbats get overlooked. So let's take this moment to shine the woke spotlight on Crazy Maisie Hirono.
I am not going to be a fool to Mitch McConnell's shenanigans. Why should any of us? And it's not just a dog whistle.
Hey, Howie.
Yes.
Hasbro's blue checkmark Twitter account says that Mr. Potato Head is going to remain Mr. Potato Head.
Oh, they've changed it. Or was that fake news, or have they just changed their mind?
It was from the AP. It was on the AP website. So I think they probably changed their mind.
Okay, Mr. Potato lives.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Potato Head. What about Uncle Ben?
Uncle Ben still sleeps with the fishes.
And the Indian maiden.
Well, this is good news for Mr. Coffee.
Buds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. I love my Raycons, and Grace loves hers, too.
Howie, I love my Raycons. Best birthday gift ever.
I listen to much better music than she does, though.
Hey, that's not true.
Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Go to buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie. Buyraycon.com/Howie.
Joe Biden accuses Trump of being a racist, but if you listen to Biden's comments, you would agree that he doth protest too much.
If you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not, what do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
The first mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean.
And Madam President, we have predators on our streets.
That kid wearing a hoodie may very well be the next poet laureate and not a gangbanger.
They are beyond the pale, many of those people.
God love you. You've been here all day. My Lord, you may feel like you're being incarcerated.
We have no choice but to take them out of society.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the Negro.
They're going to put you all back in chains. Unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things. If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump and you ain't black.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard, available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
844-500-4242. Mike, the Lyft driver, says no performer will play at a venue with only 12% capacity. Don't expect any concerts anytime soon. Yeah, I'm kind of cynical about the whole thing, just like Eric Hines. I mean, I think it's just a diversion from the disastrous rollout, which, they're once again the Commonwealth of Massachusetts can't manage a one-car funeral, let alone a vaccination website. Now, apparently, I'm getting messages on the text line saying that some of the drugstores, the chains, are saying they got lots of vaccines, and come on down. 844-500-4242. I want to take some calls on this, but I want to play a couple of these cuts from Charlie Parker's press conference today here. And again, he keeps saying there were no crashes on the sites today. It's just that the news wasn't very good. I mean, the news, you log on to it and you come up with 108,555 people are in line ahead of you. That's what Mass Live reported in their headline. The Globe has a headline. It's from Channel 5. Channel 5 took the screenshot. Your estimated wait time is 50,475 minutes. And, Charlie Parker doesn't understand why people are disturbed about that, right? Cut 17.
50,000 people have signed up on the website today. A lot of people that we possibly concerned that it crashed again. Whose fault is that? And
whose fault is that?
What's the fault?
So first of all, there were no widespread outages on the site this morning. There are 3 scheduling platforms. 2 of the scheduling platforms, I think, performed as anticipated. One of the scheduling platforms had wait times up there that just didn't make any sense. But the system overall weathered a very significant surge of interested people this morning and remained online and booked 50,000 appointments over the course of the morning.
The good news is they booked 50,000 appointments. The bad news is over 1.5 million people were probably trying to get them. Okay, because Charlie Parker expanded the universe of people who were eligible, even though he admits he didn't have enough supply. I mean, what's that all about? I don't understand it. Isn't that like basic supply and demand? I mean, I know they're all hacks and none of them have ever had real jobs, but still, supply and demand. You don't have to be a Wall Street hedge fund genius to figure it out, do you? This was Senator Eric Lasser this morning to Baker at the Oversight Committee hearing, which was pretty lackluster, but Lesser wasn't bad, I must say. Cut 6.
Let me be very clear. You described in your intro comments the vaccine rollout as, quote, lumpy and bumpy. It has not been lumpy and bumpy. It has been a failure. And my constituents and all of our constituents are justifiably outraged and are asking why the governor of Massachusetts, in the healthcare and technology capital of the country, cannot figure out how to operate a website.
I know it's grandstanding, but it's true, isn't it? Wouldn't you like to say that to him? Especially if you spent the last Thursday and then this Thursday just sitting on your computer and then getting messages like 108,555 people in line ahead of you. Cut 7. This again, Senator Eric Lesser from
On January 25th, you were asked about the website being confusing. And you said, quote, determine if you're eligible on the site, find a location that's providing vaccinations that's convenient to you, click on it, make an appointment. How much more streamlined would you like it to be than that? You remember saying that?
That is exactly how people access and have booked 300,000 appointments on that website since it went live.
You acknowledged it wasn't working well after that because there was an outcry after those comments. And on February 12th, you finally announced improvements to the website, which I admit it is better than it was before.
And so finally, Baker has to admit how bad the website sucks to Senator Lesser. Cut 10.
And I'm as frustrated and disappointed about it as anybody. And I know how frustrating and disappointing and and vexing and troubling it is for people here in Massachusetts. No question about it.
And this is from the Baker's press conference. Then we'll go to the calls after we play one more cut here today, where Baker is saying the glass isn't half empty, it's half full. The problem is what it's full of. And, well, it's nothing you'd want to drink. Let's put it that way. Cut 20.
Well, first of all, the website didn't crash today. Okay, first of all, there were no widespread outages on the site today. There was a lot of information that showed up on the site that made people deeply unhappy, and that part I get.
He gets it. He gets it. He didn't. It's not his fault, but he gets it. And you notice he keeps repeating these same phrases. You heard in those sound cuts. You heard widespread outages twice. Of course, there were some outages, but they weren't widespread. Of course. John, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, hi, Howie. Listen, I'm computer savvy. I'm a lot older than you, and I was on that website today, and it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I had 30,000 people ahead of me, and it went down to in about 2 hours. And my theory is what they did was each and every person that got hooked up with the system got ghosted right off of the system, which is what happened to me. And then they had, after I got into that, they had the nerve to tell me to get back on the queue again at 18,000. You know, here's the thing. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. When they stopped at the 75 years and older people, they should have dropped the number down to 74 and 73 and 72. And, you know, the only thing that goes through my mind is the governor must have gotten all D's in Harvard.
I think he said that he didn't enjoy his years at. I think he said he was a C student at Harvard, gentleman C's. Is what he got. He said he never liked his years at Harvard. He got an MBA though at Northwestern. You would think he would have learned something about spreadsheets or just how to figure it out. That seems like a very basic, a basic suggestion you made to just cut it very slowly. And again, this was the most irritating screenshot, if I had run into it today, was the Boston Globe had some of it. You are currently in line for a MA COVID-19 vaccination appointment. And then underneath it says in boldface to make you more impressed, in larger type, your place in line is secure. And underneath where it says your place in line is secure, people in line ahead of you, 134,534. It's good to know that my place in line is secure at number 134,535. Thanks for the call, John. Steve, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Steve.
Howie Carr, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, I know we've got a lot fewer people up here in Vermont, but the rollout's been pretty easy. I know a lot of people who've gone through it, but I wanted to tell you how I got bounced from the governor's press conferences for asking questions.
This Governor Scott? This is Governor Scott?
Yeah, after 9.5 months of asking, highly technical questions, and I've immersed myself in immunology and virology, and they always put me last. It was a public access TV. And I'd asked a question about set-asides for the BIPOC community, and I had the temerity of quoting Elizabeth Warren, to determine who was indigenous and who wasn't. And and on February 3rd, the governor's people, first they accused me of racist comments and questions, which there were none because I didn't have any. And then the following day, they accused me of being a hobby entertainment and pulled my press credentials.
Oh, because you're not in the satchel. They want everybody in the satchel. The guy in Minnesota, I think it's Scott Johnson, he's been covering Governor Walz's press conferences. Minnesota's the state where when you apply for the vaccination, they ask you what your gender is and what your sexual orientation is, as if that has anything to do with it. And it's the same thing. They give Scott Johnson, who's a legitimate lawyer. He's been living there for a long time, probably has a lot of money. They tell him he's not a real reporter. He's more of a reporter than anybody for the Star Tribune, which is just a garbage newspaper that's like kind of like the Boston Globe of Minneapolis, St. Paul. They're just in the satchel totally for the governor. 844-500-4240. Let's have Baker getting snippy with a reporter. He can't take any kind of criticism. The guy has one of the most glass jaws I've ever seen for a politician. Cut 22.
So let's talk a little bit about the random one. Would you be willing to give up a whole bunch of appointments that people could otherwise choose to sign up for themselves to make that possible? I mean, the thing to remember here is every time you take an appointment away from, you take an appointment, right? Random, or whatever the mechanism is, you just took it away from somebody else who could have signed up for it. This is a completely zero-sum game at this point. Every appointment that's available is being filled. If every appointment that's available is being filled, anytime you create capacity somewhere to do something like a random distribution, you're taking it away from other people who could otherwise have signed up for it. And that's why I say at the end of the day, the biggest challenge we have is we don't have enough appointments. And the reason we don't have enough appointments is because we don't have enough supply.
How come the other states in New England seem to be getting the job done a lot better than you, Charlie Parker? And you told us how great you were over and over and over again, and how wonderful, in spite of the fact being number 3 in overall fatalities per capita, in spite of being number 1 in nursing home deaths, in spite of losing the 4th highest number of jobs as a percentage than any state in the union. You told us how great you did. Now you have a chance to prove it yet again, and it falls apart. Like it hasn't fallen apart, you just heard, in Vermont. It hasn't fallen apart in Maine. It's not a big problem in New Hampshire. Even Connecticut is not having these kinds of problems. Hit refresh on your dinner routine with HelloFresh. Right now, you can take advantage of a new limited time offer and see why HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. HelloFresh gives you simple recipes and fresh ingredients, sourced directly from growers and delivered to your door contact-free. With more than 25 weekly recipes, there's something for everyone to enjoy, including family-friendly, vegetarian, and low-calorie options. Say goodbye to never-ending meal planning and prepping, and hello to new 10 to 20-minute meals, low-prep recipes, quick breakfasts, and lunches. HelloFresh recipe cards are easy to follow with simple steps and pictures so you can get meals on the table in less than 30 minutes. Plus, by skipping the grocery store, you can save up to 40% on groceries. You can cut food waste by 25% and stop overbuying. And let's be honest about it. As great as HelloFresh tastes, the product is great. It gives you different options you never would have thought of. But one of the other great options is you don't have to go to the supermarket. You don't have to deal with those one-way only aisles. You don't have to deal with wearing a mask. You don't have to deal with people giving you dagger eyes if the mask slips over your nose. You don't have to deal with Karens, period. Anything to avoid going to the supermarket, which used to be one of my great pleasures. Every weekend I'd go to the market basket, but no more. I can't take it. I can't take the Karens. I can't take the mask. I can't take the aisles. That you get away from all that with HelloFresh, and the food is fantastic. Go to HelloFresh.com and use code Howie10 for 10 free meals, including free shipping for a limited time only. Just go to HelloFresh.com and use code Howie10 for 10 free meals. HelloFresh.com. I'm Howie Carr.
He's the guru of crap.
Howie, we still need to do the poll question.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Can you put the sound back on?
Joe Biden.
You teachers who touch them, figuratively speaking, well, I hope you touch them and tell them how much you love them too. But my point is, when you touch their hearts, I get in trouble some things I say, but I want to tell you, just be straight up. If I'm your president, me, it starts here in my gut, goes to my heart, and then I articulate it. And by the way, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. 1.2 billion. So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store in a supermarket. You control the guy or the woman who brings out the carts on a forklift. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap, and I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
You've got to ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
The Howie Carr Show.
Get simple recipes and fresh, pre-portioned ingredients delivered to your door contact-free with HelloFresh. For a limited time, go to HelloFresh.com and use code Howie10 for 10 free meals, including free shipping from America's #1 meal kit. That's code Howie10 for 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com. Jared, what's the poll question? What are the results thus far?
Will Andrew Cuomo finish out his term as governor?
Yes, I think he will, unfortunately.
59% of the audience says yes, he will.
59%, okay. The more people heard about him this afternoon, they didn't hear anything tonight on the network newscast, I'm guessing, though, because, it's professional courtesy not to out other sexual harassers, considering what the networks are full of. So there's a guy posting on the Herald message board, 12%, huh? Do I have this right? So if you're outside and capacity is 12%, meaning Fenway Park or Gillette, but if you're inside, the capacity is 50%. Is it me? Just tell me, Chuck. Is it me? Am I losing my mind? The other question is, why are we waiting until Monday to do this? Is COVID going to surrender on Monday, but they want to keep fighting through the weekend? And of course, Charlie Parker says, you better not. Some of these communities better not open up before St. Patrick's Day, because you know what? People have fun on St. Patrick's Day, and he's Mr. Doom and Gloom. Cut 23.
We said from the very beginning of this that if communities want to go less aggressively or more conservatively than whatever it is we propose, that's fine with us. And I anticipate some may, and I'll give you a reason why. Some may choose to do that because they're concerned about St. Patrick's Day, right? That's a complicated time when it comes to COVID.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. A complicated time. Phil, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Phil.
Hi, yeah. I get on the line. My name is Phil McVinney from Rosendale.
Yeah.
I get on the line for the COVID for my shot yesterday.
Yeah.
I was on hold for 45 minutes, and people kept coming on and says, "Oh, when there's an available person, we'll book your appointment." After 45 minutes, I finally said, "The hell with it. There's nobody's available. The state don't know what the hell to do."
How old are you, Phil?
Oh, I'll probably be about 70 before I finally get a freaking appointment.
You couldn't go online. Did you try to go online, or you just used the 211, the call center?
The call said that I don't have a computer, so I was like, getting online is like, I don't do that.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. It's, being on the computer today wouldn't have helped you unless, it was like hitting the lottery, just like last week. He said it was going to be better. It wasn't better. It was the same BS. I wish you best of luck, Phil, getting your shot. Spencer, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Spencer.
All these numbers and everything, we're living in the age of distractions. Doesn't anybody find it strange that on a national level, we're so distracted that our Republican leadership hasn't asked where the heck is the State of the Union address. I mean, we're almost in March, so we're getting bogged down in the politics of the razzle dazzle.
I know everything is a distraction. Wag the dog. It used to just be a humorous movie. Now it seems to be the playbook for politics at both the national and the state levels. But Spencer, I mean, you don't think he can actually deliver a State of the Union address, do you?
Well, the problem is if he doesn't deliver a State of the Union address, then we're back to where we were in the election. Where we're not able to hold him and his administration accountable for anything. But the disturbing thing is Republican leadership isn't pressing for the accountability.
Well, I think, Spencer, here, I know what Jen Psaki would say if she's asked about this tomorrow at a press conference. She's going to say, well, throughout most of the 19th century and in parts of the 20th century, even the State of the Union address was given as a written statement. So we're just returning to traditions, to normalcy, as Dementia Joe used to say during the campaign. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. I'm Howie Carr.